This is day 833 Del Shon Yomi. Black sponsor Commissioner Shir Del Shon Yomi. More please come me directly. They were doing Chuf Chav Zayin, Yud Zayin to Chav Hey. And we're in the middle of trying to understand the issue of the Gadol year, making a year of Rav Shilin. The Yeshlamim, but Tamu Shal Rosh. We have to stand the Rosh. Lama Lo Nismo Chatchila Ruva Shal Gadol Ador a year. Why we like Chatchila on the Gadol of the city. I love it. Everybody's wanting to do that here. Many things we see by the people. We don't do it ourselves. Kiddush Vavdalah Chaytzabem. Lama Nikrenu Poshea. Nikrenu Poshea. Why would you call him a Poshea? Because he's relying on the Gadol here. Bishlama Shnei Pamim Zachar Zeh. I understand we forgot it 2 times in a row. Nikar Rifyono, we see his weakness. Mitzvahs in doing mitzvahs. When you forgot one time, you should pay attention. Please call and remember. But that's okay. That's after we factor. We know these considered poshea. But why? Why can't we line him with the gadol to Yar Shliach? Nearly. Arukh HaShulchan says, "You see, the Shnei Tommy is bar of Shulchan. There are 2 reasons given for Tav Shulchan. Echad, one, he covered Yontiv. The honor of Yontiv Shlo is also, but they shouldn't mock it. V'echad mivnei covered Shabbos. Shabbos, you put money up for Shabbos. You keep in reserve a portion for Shabbos. Below Yichla Kol Yontiv. I finish everything for Yontiv. Please answer Shabbos because this works out well. Then he the time of the covered Yontiv Shlo is also, but Moel Kamei De Acher. Granted that in order that there should not be a diminution of the covenant of Yontif, that's effective even through another person. Leish Bilazes also, because we'll know without that, we will not be also to cook on Yontif. At the time of Kabbat Shabbos, for the reason of Kabbat Shabbos, you bore money Yontif. They should choose a special portion for Shabbos. What good is there to rely on others? He, in his house, he'll finish everything for Yontif. So he forgot, so he's ignorant. We have no choice but to rely on the first reasoning and say, okay, then you can be to go to that year because it could be Yontif. But say he didn't forget, something called a criminal. Arukh HaShulchan was not concerned with making sure to ensure to leave a money off it for Yontif, for Shabbos. The Mishnah Berurah says that the first reason is definitely Iker, that it should not come to Mazal's on Yontif. And if you make a Shliach to make Erev Tavshilin, or if the Gadol ear tells you before he makes the Erev Tavshilin that you can rely on him, and that's they made up that way, that's okay even Chatchila. That's actually a very interesting approach and more lenient and creative in this case than the Arukh HaShulchan. He's not saying that it's not saying Erev Gadol shouldn't work. That the only time where we frown using the air of Gadol is when he didn't let people know at the time that he's going to make Erev Tavshilin for them, and he just told them on Yontif after the fact. So then that they shouldn't have relied on him, and he's a little bit of a sham himself. But they shouldn't have relied on him. So therefore, we say, okay, you get two strikes, you're out. But if the Gadol says, I'm going to make Erev Tavshilin for everybody, and they come to an agreement on that, so Takeh would be sufficient. Very interesting. Here's the Shayla. There's a question. Lama lo izkiratur shulach ibra poshea shabagamara. That why don't you mention the primary case of Gemara of the person who was criminally negligent? When he forgot 2 times, Kamasa who sounded like the fellow there was a blind fellow who forgot. She was, or first time forgot, second time was deliberate. She was staying regarding Zachar Zeh, or there were 2 Yom Tovim, one after another. She Erev Tavshilin, Erev Tavshilin, B'Afsek Regel Acher, or interruption of some other Yom Tov. Akapanim Lama should be the cloud over Zeh. Why did they leave out this the case of the Gemara? Because I was saying it's clear to them the Eden Shatir is Rabbi, I would say, in the 19th century. Actually, before that, because of the Torah Shulchan Aruch. I would say somebody tiered us in the 1400s and 1500s. Ef Shalomar Shame Poshea. We can't say that somebody forgot to Erev Tavshilin is considered Poshea. The Gambis Magor, Yim Tagmar, Lyrak, Adam Gadol. Maybe only a great person. It was time like that blind person who was a Tam Chacham. So to have him Sada Masisa come to Shmuel because he was saying over the Bryces from Shmuel, Kari Le Poshea. Only the son's person called Poshea. Look, he's Shas to have him Sada Masnisa. That's the Shas mentioned that he he was the town on the base medrash. My the Adam God is such a great person. Bad to have up Shia. It's criminal negligence for them. Avlo did not for us peons. Notice that and we have in mind for everybody. Can't feel Mishiyad have a low irei gamkein. So to somebody who knew and didn't make the Erev, our das, evidently the Chav's das, is Mishiyad low irei, even if somebody didn't make an Erev, El Shadavas El Sheikh Etzleinu Kol Gankem, but it's not so prevalent. So the Arukh HaShulchan also comes up with a creative heter, which is to say that the type of Pushteh, which they had in Gemara, who was a Talmud Chacham, and he had lots of free time, is not relevant in Bisman Hazeh. That's fascinating too. Mishmur writes that many poskim hold that any person can rely on the Erev of the Gadol, like he said before. Only a person who always makes on his own, and he doesn't want to rely on the Erev of the Gadol, and then it happens that he forgot several times and didn't make an Erev, then the Gadol ear doesn't exempt him because it wasn't his derech to rely on the Gadol. And yeah, it's possible the at least to rely on those poskim and make a cause of some okay. You test Shmar Valachem when you're making Erev on others. Ain't Tzarech Lefarit Lepartius. You don't have to have a list specify specifically. On me, on who you're making Erev Tavshilin, for whom you're making Tavshilin. Elameniach al Klam Ne'er, leave for the general population. The Chol Mishu, but Chum anybody's in the Chum of the city, Yotze boy, he is Yotze with that Erev. Then the Stama Daito Erev Chum, we assume that his intent is on the city and its vicinity up to at least Chum Shabbos of 2,000 amos. Mishu Darchut of Chum, somebody is outside 2,000 amos. Any year to say it's not Yotze go to Lador, go to ear. And it came Pir Shubahedi unless the Godel said explicitly, Shemai Mishu plenty is being married for so and so. Adonim Chutz the Chum, leave outside Chum. And it's another stipulation. Arukh says, I'm not sure where this comes from, but it's a lot of stipulations that the person who lives outside two Rams could theoretically get to the city on Yom Tov. And if the Gadol here did not state explicitly, Apos Eruv Ein Moil. If the Gadol here made it Eruv, it's not effective. Person outside the Tchum. The mistama ain't come on about the tchum. We assume it's is only on the city and it's tchum. Chaf. Davra Pasha. It's clear. The gadol aminiach the gadol ear who leaves the erev makes the erev tzarich shei daita b'shas asiyas erev l'shem b'nei ha'ir. They has to have in mind the people of the city. B'nei ha'ir absolutely daitam. Also says beruvo. The people say even though they didn't have in mind to be yotze with his erev, kanken yotze, but they're also yotze. He needs to have the kabbalah, not them. About karchel kain, that's be his way. Dima you these kachim, and where they remember about the eruv, harei hayumarim ba'atzmam, they would make there themselves. The beniz kruv lo eruv ba'atzmam. If they remember and didn't make an eruv themselves on these bar, we say lo ma'anis michal shel gadol ear. If you remembered and didn't do it, you're pershan, and you can't rely on the gadol ear. Become unless yontav yesh lo lo diem. And yontav, you should tell them. She read ba'adam made the eruv for them. They made the eruv for them. Kol sheschiv ashol Shabbos. Before they begin to cook on Shabbos, they shouldn't rely on their assumption. That the mistam made about them to assume that the gadol ear made there for them. However, yodim shekein darko shkol, you know that's the derech of the gadol. L'niach ba'adam to leave the ear for them. They can rely on him sheshalchem la'arev, and they forgot to make the ear of gam below also, even without his informing them. Rambam kasav shalamach le'achri sheniach ba'adam eruv tavshilin. Does say that he should announce the next day that he made Erev Tavshilin for them. Chafal, Chinese bar, it's very explained. Shminiach Lishlacherem, when you're leaving an Erev, making an Erev for somebody else, Ganget Service, somebody you have to bestow ownership in it through a third party. So the Erev should leave your jurisdiction. You can't do this zikui by your own children, young minors, girls and boys, nor by your male or female servants, but to another person, or his own adult sons and daughters, who don't no longer eat at home. When the Mishnah says, "But the Evan, if you use your children gedolim, even if they live at home, then it works." Also, you can use your male and female Jewish servants, but you can't use your wife. It's very similar to what we said by Chatzeros. Yesh should custom to those the right team. Any shto chasim over his wife doesn't eat with him. Mizaka loy the yada. He can bestow ownership through her. Sharei tzvicha erev tavshilim neatzv. She needs her own erev tavshilim. Well, then erev chatzeros now like erev chatzeros where there's one per household. I feel because even she gets an allowance from her husband, she's still considered separate. Just in any event, the dover zelo shliach. This is highly not prevalent. I said, but when you are doing for a third party, what do? Yom you say to the person who is acquiring the heir on behalf of the people, acquire this heir of the chol b'nei ear for all the people in the city. And the person who acquires it, lives on the table tefach. Much the Shem Shin Samach Bava, you said by Arukh HaShulchan. Hakel note lo miyad zoch, and he takes it. Owner takes it back from the person who acquired ownership on behalf of the other people. Also, the other he puts in his hand. Holds in his hand. Baruch Baruch v'chulei. Shegu shanu v'chulei mitzvahs eruv. Makes a bracha on the mitzvah eruv. V'aymer b'had eruv, and he says with this eruv. Yehi shar lunch before us afuye to bake, to cook, admune and to insulate that luke shraga and to light candles. Yom Tov Shabbos from Yom to Shabbos. Lana for us, l'choderim b'eretz us, and all people live in the city. Nicham Bakum Mishtari put in a place where they are kept safe on Shabbos until Shabbos. Shabbos yochim b'shitim on Shabbos. Yesh m'sim umebar lana kol tzachara. Some people add tavshilin to do everything we need to do. That should be enough in and of itself. Includes everything. It's not true. Because you have to specify. So he doesn't understand. He should say whatever language he understands. Mishabur says, in other words, he must say in whatever language he understands. Say it the way he understands it. Our women have the custom to pawn off the responsibility on the men and say that the men have to make it and the women have to hear it because they're too involved in Tzarchei Shabbos to do it. Peter mitzvah he ain't zamaki medina. It's only a that they have to hear it. They think. I guess I don't know. I don't think my wife ever thought that she has to hear it, but I guess the women who think that they would have to hear it. It's a nice Hidur mitzvah. But it's not maki medina. It's not required, strictly speaking. It's not mentioned anywhere. But Amos that time there's no reason why anybody else has to hear you. I'm only wrote having an error for baking and cooking. Can it be as a rock? Yerushalmi. So it says it's the name Yerushalmi. Yeshim. Some says to let's get out of the you have to mention. Some say I have to mention line candles as an independent clause. Your lawyers care if you don't say it. It might be nails. You have to actually diminish the amount of candles you light, and that is the Ran, and there goes my Maimonides. Nuscha Shalanu, our version, who mi Bahag is from the Bahag, and we do say Luke Shraga. Ishkos of those who say Shagam carry from private domain to public domain. So it's when it goes to Shiv. Because when they say Shim Lois Kier Kol Dabar Pratius, if you didn't mention everything specifically, El Amar Lameba Lana Kol Tzavani just said to do everything we need to do. It's animal. It's not effective. That's the rule. Then why I'm running cloud. Well, you mentioned previously if he doesn't like this approach, says why it should not work. The but since Rishonim said it, we have no choice but to accept what they say. He died to Mercham without there because they had much better insight than we do. Rabbi saying about it, and Tais writes it as well. Yes, because those write the Imrot, so it's Chop Shat Yon, the Gemara Shechtin Hot, so let's give them Erev Tavshil. You had to mention Shechtin Erev Tavshil. They made came to the meaning not to mention Shechtin. The Gamlo last year Hotzo also we don't mention Hotzo Mishus Lishus. And he says that the Taz spent a long time explaining this. Vayim Siflan Beis, Emily and Siflan Beis, he'll come back to it. Mishnah says it's best to specify lighting, taking from Mishus to Shus, and Shchita. The Yevi, you don't have to be Machmir. Chavdal, Kshachal, you don't have to be Yom Chamishim, Yom Shishim, when Yom comes out Thursday, Friday. V'niach Erev Tavshim, Yarvim, put an Erev Tavshim on Wednesday. Oslo, Yom Chamish, Shabbos, still can't cook on Thursday for Shabbos. Yom Shishi, only on for Friday. We know how the calendar, the proper days of the calendar. Yom Rishon who Vada Yontif. The first day is definitely Yontif. Vafil Beloza, without that Lama Lama Later Shabbos. Why should we allow to cook on for Shabbos? Mikodem, the Kodem, before 2 days ahead of time. Dailon like the Yokodem Shabbos Mamish. Not for us we want to before Shabbos itself. Kongam nevertheless, Bishlam Yom Achesh Mishnah Shabbos. They did cook from Thursday to Shabbos inappropriately. Unless somebody ever we don't ask her after the fact. Yeshua, so that's the Taz. But Yeshua, so let's talk on B'diavad. Marshal wants to ask her even B'diavad. The Tema is who? It's astonishing to say this. Very shiny card. The primary opinion is the first one that if you did it, it's still mutter. In the brackets, he brings down Yerushalmi Sheviu Shetzorich Lamar Miyantul Chaver Miyantul L'Shabbos. He's supposed to say Erev Tafshin that this is for cooking from one yontif to the next yontif. And for Yontif Shabbos, Zeuk Shiyom Rishon Ubiyom Shishi. That is only when first day yontif is on Friday. Hashem Shabbos, the second day yontif is on Shabbos. Chayin Tzorech is good yontif for Shabbos. As they mention yontif and Shabbos. So it's the yontif Chaver Yontif for Shabbos. It's the same. It's 2 days only, not 3 days. It's yontif to the day afterwards, which is both Shabbos and yontif. Vayim Mutaz from Yosef. The Fanei learning says we don't have Yerushalmi Gam. This was Steve Agodim learning from Fanei, and also this we don't have this version of the previous Sif. Chafei. Kasabatu. Two writes Sheachol Aniach Erev Adas Yosomich Alav. Kasma Shukayim Afil Yontif Acher. You can leave the Erev for multiple Yom Tovim. Hakan Shono. Rabbeinu says because leave you doubt. They said right Yiniach Erev Adas Yismol of Kasman Sheyakayim Afil Yontif Acher. We had in mind to use it for every yontif, even another yontif. You really shouldn't rely on him next yontif, because it's not. I mean, I can't guess an idea of couple Shabbos coming yontif. But if you didn't make a new Erev, you can rely on the old one. It has a tzorich iyun. If it's enough to have one kizayis for both yontif and kizayis for each yontif. But from Erev Yontif Rishon of Sukkot to Shmini Atzeres, that's 2 sequences. He says you can lie but the Evid even one kazais. Interesting. Okay, let's go on. Beer Divrei. I guess all this was. I'm up to. Yeah, Beer Divrei means to say the Kvar B'Yaram Sidar Rei explains the Rava Habayatam B'Shum B'Shiva Money offer the reason in order to have choose a choice portion for Shabbos. Ain't no moil rak Reb Yontif. It's only affecting Reb Yontif. Rabashi the Havakam may cover Yontif. Rashi's for cover Yontif. His house will go. Shemakim will try to become Yom Yikoyim. You can make it even several days before when you're not in the business of choosing portions. Okay, Turpas Rabashi, Basra, Turpas Rabashi, who later so authority. So you can make several days before. You can also make it for the next yontif. Lo being yontif Erev yontif because it doesn't have to be Erev yontif specifically. Rabbi says to also have in mind Rava's issue that to pick a good portion. Therefore, you should not rely on this yontif's Erev for next yontif. The Yav is something Ravashi. The Yav rely on Ravashi's svar. Which we're right, so the priest's opinion is, even though you hold like Ravashi, you should be machal chatchila. Remember, before you the next yontif, you should make another Erev Chatzeros and say, but Ruva, but not another bracha. Because you would intend it with the bracha of the previous yontif to cover this yontif as well. If you didn't intend to, you make another bracha. But since you intended to, so therefore, you should say Hadei Ruva again, but you should not make another bracha.